Hi, I'm Sue Bornhorst with NRI Relocation. I'm here today with Cherise Kosova from Iowa Global Services. Hi, Cherise.
Hi, Sue.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We asked Cherise to come in today to talk about the importance of cultural training for companies. So, Cherise, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. Thanks for having me. I want to talk a little bit today about the importance of being able to recognize, articulate, and then manage cultural differences within organizations. So, Sue, I'll ask you, when you're talking about U.S. American companies working outside the U.S., what are some cultures that you think are most difficult to work with?
China, India.
Right, those come to mind right away. And in fact, that's because the differences are so stark. But when we're looking at working across cultures, sometimes it's actually the subtle differences that also pose challenges. Say, working with Denmark, for example, you wouldn't imagine that's a big challenge.
Right.
Because above the surface, we feel like we have an affinity, like we're kind of similar with another Northern European country.
Right, most of them are fluent in English, so
they've studied it. It's the common language, exactly. But below the surface, there still exist those cultural beliefs and values that make people behave differently socially and, more importantly now, in the workplace. So today I'd like to give you some examples of a company that we worked with. And this company is US-based, and they bought a Danish entity. So right out of the gates, the executive assistant calls a manager in the Danish company in Denmark and says, the CEO wants to have a meeting with you. So what would you imagine that person says?
Let me clear everything for you right now.
That's it. That's what an American would expect, because we have a certain higher level of hierarchy in our companies. And so that's not what that person said. He said, you know what, I'm busy that day. I'll get back to you and let you know the days and times that I could meet. And so the exec assistant said, that's not how we do things around here. And when those kinds of things, those kinds of phrases begin to bubble up, there's challenges with cultural difference. So they had to work through, how are we going to make these kinds of meetings and set them going forward in the future? Mm-hmm. Another example, same company, Danish engineers, American engineers. They started working together, and from a technical standpoint, things were going well. But challenges started bubbling up. The Danish employees were taking their 2- and 3-week vacations without Blackberries or without, their smartphones. And the Americans said, hey, this is messing with project planning. And the Danes said, we value our quality of life, and studies show they do at a higher level than the U.S., who's more on work. So they had to have a session where they got together with one another, and they agreed that moving forward, the Danish engineers would submit their travel schedules to the Americans, even though they didn't have to, they were peers, and they were able to project plan more effectively. So this just demonstrates how when you can consciously talk about culture in a facilitated dialogue, there's actually ways to develop strategies for working more effectively across cultures.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
And thank you for joining us. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, or check us out on www.nrirelocation.com.